Monitor him! One-handed catch! Oh, he's got it!
Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. Oh man, it still sucks. It still hurts that this season was a complete and utter failure after all the hype that wound up going into this whole season. But I want to hear from you guys today. We're going to be doing the call-in show, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. For those of you guys that are new here, you get 3 minutes on the clock. I'm going to have to switch that. I did not switch it from yesterday's sadness. Now I got to switch that over there to the 3-minute timer. But after 3 minutes, you get the chicken. We're going to do something a little different this time. I want to see if you guys would like coming on video chat instead of just the audio chat. So anyone that's going to click into the stream, you'll be able to actually have your camera on it. If you don't want to have it, just, cover your camera or aim it in a different direction. But you'll appear in this little box right here. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that. I'll give you guys some of my thoughts after digesting yesterday's game and the season. We heard Zach Wilson benched. He's moving down to third string with Boyle as the starter for Friday's Black Friday game against the Miami Dolphins. You got Simeon as the backup. That is the same thing the Jets did last year with Zach Wilson. They took him from starter and moved him behind Flacco. Flacco was the backup option when Mike White became the starter. So this isn't anything new. I think you just had to do it. It felt like the team just gave up. There's just no more fight. And I don't know if it's, maybe this is the Jets' way of figuring out, like, hey, are they giving up on Salah? Are they giving up on the team? Or are they giving up on Zach? Do they feel like they don't have anything more to fight for? The issue with me is I really do think Zach has the highest ceiling of all our quarterbacks. I think we'll see probably a few more touchdowns out of Boyle this week. Hey, do you let Russ cook? You let Tim Boyle. Right? Let's get excited. We might see some offense for the first time in a long time, but I do think we're going to get some more interceptions from Boyle. I don't expect us to win, but damn, I want it. Like, there's one game I want to win. I want to shut TD. I was just on the AFC East roundtable with Richie and the boys. And Doug's very, very nice Dolphin fan. TD, very nice dude. But TD Finstock, he's very... Oh, man, he just wants to rub it in our faces. He's kicking us when he's down. Dude hasn't beaten a team over 500, and I want it. I want it. I haven't wanted to win a game in the worst way. Like, I don't care about the Patriot game at the end of the season. If I could get one win the rest of the way throughout the entirety of this season, it's beating the Dolphins on Black Friday. They might be thinking like, look what just happened to them. They got nothing going on, short week. Who cares? They're going to be full from their Thanksgiving dinner. We're just going to run and sprint all over them. That's what they're planning to do. Maybe we can catch them sleeping. Maybe. They haven't looked great. Their offense has looked a little clunky as of late. The game in London against the Chiefs, they just kind of stalled out. I think they were 3 of 11 on third downs. It looked very Jets-esque from that sort of perspective, but then they wind up having I think they still had over 300 yards. So I don't know. It's frustrating. Where do we go from here? Are we in, draft mode? Are we already looking at what happens in mock drafts, where we look in terms of the Tankathon rankings? I think last I looked, the Jets were sitting at 11. Yeah, Jets are sitting at 11 right now. We're sort of middle of the pack as far as 4 and 6 teams go. We have a .520 strength of schedule. The only teams ahead of us that are 4 and 6 are Tampa, Green Bay, and Atlanta. Washington hasn't had their bye. They're 4 and 7 right now. But they also have an easier strength of schedule. So even if, we match up with schedules with them, that'll be in their favor for right now. We do play Washington December 20th. Is that right? 24th? Is that the Christmas? I think it's the Christmas Eve game. And then the Chargers and Rams are sitting behind us right now with a .529 strength of schedule. So they're just a tick behind us. So it could change as things move on throughout the season. I do expect us to get a top 10 pick at this point. I think I'm hard-pressed to find any wins the rest of the way out. I think the Patriot game is winnable. I think the Atlanta game could be winnable, but it's not going to be easy. And this team is going to have to try and rally together. I don't want to see them fall apart. And I'm not in the tank mode. Like, it's not like I want to see the best possible draft pick other than like maybe week 18. I might be a little more tanky than I don't want to beat the Patriots in like a game that gives them a better draft pick and like hurts us. And it's also not our starting quarterback. It doesn't do anything for us. It's just oh, it's Belichick. He's leaving, be sure. I guess you hand him a loss in the last one, but he's probably like doesn't care at that point. I don't know. It's frustrating. I said this on the round table. I don't think I want the Jets to beat the Patriots. I don't want to win against the Patriots this way, if that makes sense. The first game was really the one I wanted more than anything. But hey, look, rest of the way out, we're going to be looking at some good young players. We got some Izzy. I thought Carter Warren looked all right for the little bit of snaps we got from him. I think he played like 85% of the snaps, I think is what Samini's tweet said. So that was cool. Nice to see him. Could you imagine if he winds up, the best thing that could happen is he balls out and he looks like, oh, damn, we got to tackle. We got to tackle. That would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. We're going to have some tough questions to answer in the offseason. How do we solve this offensive line issue? We've thrown picks. We've thrown free agent money at it. But for whatever reason, injuries just have been creeping up on us on a consistent basis. You look over the course of the last, I think it's like 13 years, the Jets have always had a ton of players in salary on the IR. And it just can't continue to keep happening that way. And every year it happens, it's like, well, it can't happen again. And then the offense plays worse. And it just like everything gets compounded. But what do we do with Becton? I think he's probably not going to come back. I think it's probably a mutual split for both sides. I don't think Becton wants to be here at this point. It doesn't seem like him and this coaching staff really got along, particularly the LaFleur side of things. I think this year was probably a little bit better, but I think he's probably going to move on. I think the Jets are probably fine moving on. And if you look at like how injury prone he is versus probably, I keep saying Bakhtiari's going to come in here, and it's not something I'm particularly like keen on. But when you look at like him and Becton, at least they're both roughly the same type of question mark. You just can't commit a lot of money to either one of those players if you try to go after either one of them. You got Trent Brown from New England, going to be a free agent. He's got a void year in his contract coming up after this season. He can play left tackle and right tackle. It might not be a bad swing to go after a player like that. We've gone after an Orlando Brown. We've gone after Jack Conklin. We've gone after Joe Thuney. So it's not unreasonable to think the Jets are going to try and target the top offensive linemen out in free agency. I would like to solve as many, problems as possible heading into the draft because I would like to have a little bit of wheel and deal action. I would like to be able to trade down out of the top 10 pick and still get a tackle or an offensive lineman that you really like. If you get the higher the pick, if you get something like let's say you wind up in a top 5 pick and someone's trying to trade up for Penix or trade up for, maybe Caleb Williams or May, slides a little bit, or maybe someone wants to get, I don't know. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, maybe you take him. But if you sign like a Mike Evans or you trade for Devontae Adams, I'll be honest, I don't particularly want to trade for Devontae Adams. I feel like I'd want to keep some of my assets, but if you kind of miss on Evans or T. Higgins or some of the other players, I understand it. I don't know. I feel like we're caught over a barrel because we have Hackett here. I don't trust Hackett until Rodgers gets back because Rodgers is really the one that I want to see, operating the whole offense. I don't really want to see Douglas or Salah canned after this year. I think they've at least earned the right to see what this Rodgers thing ultimately ends up being. I just hope, I shouldn't even say I hope. There's a very real concern for me where I think there's probably a good reason to draft a quarterback in this year's draft. That's why I feel like if you can move Bryce Huff for like a second round pick, I think he is going to be our franchise tag player next year. But then you have the argument of like, okay, if you're going all in on Rodgers, would you really move Bryce Huff to, I would think if you're moving him for a second round pick, you're probably taking a quarterback at that point. There's going to be about 7 or 8 quarterbacks that we're going to be able to keep an eye on. I have to do my research. I think there's like 3 that people are really grading in the first round. Jaden Daniels might creep into there given his last 2 weeks of play. He's got like 16 touchdowns in 2 weeks. which is insane. I think he might have gotten 6 touchdowns and 8 touchdowns or vice versa. He's an animal. He's absolutely crazy. And then you got Bo Nix, you got Ewers, you got JJ McCarthy. Who knows? I don't think they're going to pull the plug on Salah and Douglas. I would be a little surprised. But if we don't make the quarterback selection, like what's the move? Like, what are you doing? I would love to believe Rodgers is going to give us 3-4 years. Like, that would be incredible. I'll sit here and take that, no questions asked, but I still want the quarterback because of the what if. I want the rookie quarterback that we draft to be quarterback 3. I want to bring in a legitimate veteran to be the backup behind Rodgers for next year, because you cannot waste another year of this defense. You got to have at least some solid footing. But now when you're talking about trying to fix the offensive line, trying to bring in a wide receiver, trying to bring in a good backup quarterback, what happens? Maybe you bring in someone like I don't know. Is Baker on a 1-year deal in Tampa? Maybe that's something he would consider. I don't know. I don't know if it's something we should consider. I don't know. Is there a young quarterback out there that maybe isn't a draft pick, that's a veteran that could, I don't know, look better in this particular on this particular team than they've looked in other teams, because we have all the weapons, or we will have all the weapons probably next year, but our defense is stout. It's going to be interesting. Gang Green, thank you for the super chat, dude. He says, are we tanking to move up in the draft? I don't particularly want to, but if you do want to kind of go that route, we have games against New England. We have games against, we have a game against Washington, and that's really it for teams that are in front of us. So if we theoretically lose to both those teams, New England does have a game against the Giants this week. They are favored, but I get the feeling DeVito's like not that bad. They just beat Washington in a pretty good game for the Giants, and New England lost to Washington. So I could see that. I could see New England definitely getting a top 2 pick this year. Chicago, I don't know. I feel like they're good enough to luck into a win. They took the Lions all the way to the end of that game yesterday. I think they could sneak through a few wins. If I had to guess, we're going to be sitting at like pick 7. And at pick 7, I think you're going to be in a prime position to draft a top non-quarterback. And just taking the tackle at the top of the draft is probably the right move. Right now they have, so I'm on Tankathon. They have Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver from LSU, 6 foot tall, has 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns. The Jets taking him at number 11. Now, it is important to note that there are 3 offensive tackles that go before us, and there are 3 offensive tackles that go after us. The Alabama tackle goes 1 pick in front of us right now, and then there's the Notre Dame tackle and the Penn State tackle are going 4 and 5 is what they're looking at in terms of this particular mock draft, and a lot of stuff's going to change over the course of the next few weeks here and throughout the offseason. But I think what I'm going to do is usually this time of year, I start going into more college football mode purely because we just have not been good. But I really like bowl season. I really like the college football playoffs. We can go into these games and, pick a few players that we might be trying to look at. We could say, here's their position. This is the team they're on. This is the, their number to keep an eye on. And, just sit there and watch it, just kind of diagnose it. Maybe I'll reach out to Dom C, see if he wants to do some of that. I think that would be kind of fun, getting his insight on some of the top draft prospects coming up here. As far as are we tanking, I don't know. I feel like if you wanted to tank, you almost trot Zach out there because I feel like morale is so low. Boyle, I don't think is going to win you any games, though. I think Simeon should have been the correct quarterback to be starting, given his track record, but I guess maybe they feel some type of allegiance to Boyle. I don't know. A. Mitch comes in and says, Ryan, worst thing that happened is Zach beat the Bills week 1. If this game happened after we lost Aaron, Zach would have been gone. Your thoughts? If this game happened week 1 and Zach is tripping over over his own feet, Salah's body slamming him on the sideline, the Jets defense is getting smoked, the offense looks inept. Yeah, if we had that game week 1, you probably make a move for a quarterback, but then you just sort of figure out what quarterback's getting traded, and is Aaron Rodgers really holding some type of power over the Jets? I don't know. Who would you go for? I mean, Dobbs is the easy answer, right? Like you would trade for Dobbs, but he was traded before week 1. And then you'd have to wait till the deadline, which would have been just before the Chargers game, I think. I think it was after the Giant game, but before the Charger game was when the trade deadline was. So I guess Dobbs is the easy answer. Cousins, I mean, it just sucks. He tore his Achilles. That would have been like, I think, the play if they were knocked out of it. I don't know. It's just we're in a weird, funky spot because we're not getting rid of Hackett. And I feel like Hackett is a bigger problem. Like I don't like any of our quarterbacks. I don't want to get that twisted, but I feel like Hackett is a bigger problem than some of the other issues. Like you can kind of shuffle some offensive linemen around. You're really not going to get anything better out of, O linemen 13 and 14 on your roster at this particular point in time. There's no team that's that deep. Wide receiver wise, definitely something to be desired, but I feel like between our tight ends and Garrett and Brees, like there's enough weapons to have some semblance of an offense. Certainly not what we've seen over the course of this entire year. I think the Jets are like 22% on third down, which I think is NFL history worst, which is absolutely bonkers. But yeah, I do think if the game happened yesterday on week 1, then it's a totally different story. And you really look at this team, like you lucked into the win against the Buffalo Bills, I think. I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster. I think the team came out to play. You had a really insane acrobatic catch from Garrett Wilson to score a touchdown. You had the punt return at the end, which you can't obviously rely on consistently. But the Jets would have got the ball in overtime in a scoring position close to field goal range at that particular point. But I would chalk that up to a pretty lucky win. The Eagles game, definitely kind of lucky, and same with the Giants game. Like if those are better coached or well thought out sort of processes there, I think those are losses. Then you're talking your only win is against the Broncos. Like that's rough. That tells you just how bad this offense is and how bad this team is. And that has to fall on Douglas. It's got to fall on Saleh. It's got to fall on Hackett. There's a lot of blame to go around. I'm still irked at Woody about that trade for Rodgers. I said it should have happened near training camp. I think it should have. And because it happened before the draft, we missed out on Broderick Jones, the tackle, because we traded down the 2 spots. Imagine if you had Broderick Jones. Now, he didn't really come on till like the last few weeks. But if you had Broderick Jones as your starting left tackle and you don't have Dwayne Brown out there, maybe Rodgers doesn't get hurt. I don't know. Or maybe the calf tweak in training camp was enough to do it either way. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of what ifs in this particular season, and I don't really know what to do. J-Boy comes in and says, this offseason is easy. Bring back your key guys, then get one really good wide receiver named Adams, and the rest is O-line and depth. Build around Tippmann. Easy. So I do agree that it's a pretty easy offseason in terms of like, okay, we've got the quarterback here, and that was the thing that didn't get us Orlando Brown last year. We didn't have Rodgers at the time of free agency, so we missed out on Orlando Brown. We offered him the highest contract. He went to go play with Burrow in Cincinnati because we had Zach Wilson as our quarterback. So look, maybe we should have made the move even earlier, and we should have given up even more for Rodgers to secure it to get Orlando Brown. But as far as this offseason, I'll be honest, I don't want to trade for Davante Adams. I think it is going to happen, and I hope it's for more of like a 2025 conditional pick based on performance than it is on 2024 picks. Like, I don't want to give up the first. We're not going to give up the first. We're not giving up a top 10 pick for Davante Adams. But I don't know. What do you give up a third? Then you're picking first round, and then you're not picking again until round 4. I really like the free agent route. I like T. Higgins a lot. If I could have it my way, T. Higgins is probably the receiver I would prefer to have. I think Mike Evans provides a different size profile than Davante Adams does, but on a similar contract kind of basis where, window that you would have before you have to pay Garrett Wilson. With Davante Adams, I feel like it's more of a copy of Garrett Wilson, which isn't a bad thing, but I want like red zone target. And I guess with Rodgers, everyone's a lot better in the red zone, but I want like big body dude. Like I want jump ball guy. Like, damn, we got to out-leap that 5'10" corner. Like Mike Evans is the dude. He just seems to always be open and always catching touchdowns. I don't know. I'm not as high on the Davante Adams stuff as I think a lot of Jet fans are. We did the poll the other day, and it was like 50 some odd % of you guys wanted to trade for Davante Adams. And I think it was like 20 wanted to trade for Mike Evans. I was a little surprised by that. I would rather use some of our salary cap space to get a receiver than use salary cap space and a draft pick to go out and get one. Not to mention he's a year younger too. Blitz Crew says Boyle is the move to play for the draft and try to keep the locker room. Simeon might win a game or two. Yeah, I think Simeon's the better of the two quarterbacks. I don't think they'll be afraid to pull Boyle. I don't think they'll do it against the Dolphins. Like, they might give him 2 weeks to kind of figure it out. I just don't understand why, like, it feels like this whole season we didn't have any intention of winning, because if you did, you would have had Simeon as the backup. Unless Simeon's really that bad. Maybe Simeon looks awful in training, or not training camp, in our practices week to week. It's hard to imagine that. I mean, Tim Boyle's career touchdown interception ratio, I think, is like 1-3. It's like really bad. It is not good. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in winning the rest of the way out. But Blitzkrieg's got a good point. Maybe Boyle is the draft pick plan. You got to think Douglas doesn't care about winning in this particular season anymore. I don't know. Joe S. comes in. He says, I feel the offense had more talent last year. Well, I don't know if it did, right? So it had Garrett Wilson and it had Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore was a loss. He definitely was. He's not having like a crazy good season this year over in Cleveland, but he would have absolutely gotten separation here, and he would have definitely been an asset for this team. I was irritated when we moved him, but I get why you had to. But that just goes to show you like how bad Zach was. Like, Zach cost us our our second round wide receiver. And I shouldn't say it's all on Zach, because Elijah Moore acted like an immature brat after, like, on a win streak. He wanted the ball more. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have acted like that, and it's probably good that we got rid of him. But that sucks, because that's not a talent issue. It's a mental issue, head case issue, a personality issue, I guess, more so with Elijah Moore. And then I do think Mike LaFleur is a better play caller and a better play designer than Hackett. I think Hackett is a really big problem. I really do. I think Hackett is an issue. You saw how poorly Russell Wilson played last year under him in Denver, and how much better he's playing with Sean Payton this year. I don't like Nathaniel Hackett, the play caller. I like Nathaniel Hackett, the person. I do like Hack, the person, because it seems like all his players like playing for him, but you need Rodgers there to like know what to do. Hackett never called plays for Rodgers. Matt LaFleur called plays for Rodgers. So to some extent, we don't even really know what Rodgers is going to be with Hackett's offense. Like, is he going to make the changes at the line of scrimmage consistently and just sort of override him to the tune of getting that MVP? Maybe not the MVP, but like just playing well, playing average to above average quarterback play. I do think the offense was in a better position last year than it is this year. I think the loss of Corey Davis was big. The losing Elijah Moore was big. And then, yeah, obviously the play caller itself was a big problem. J-Boy says, don't matter who's not high on him, Rodgers is. So, yeah, I know the whole Devontae Adams thing. I'm hoping that Adams does want to stay in Vegas, and they just have this like back and forth where it's like, oh, man, we couldn't get this done. And then you wind up going with, another option. I think Rodgers would probably be fine with T. Higgins as well, because T. Higgins was sort of the receiver you thought they were going to take in 2019 or 18 when they selected Jordan Love. They traded up. It's like, wow, they're about to take T. Higgins for Aaron Rodgers. They were just in the AFC Championship game, and then you didn't get to see it. So maybe they right the wrong by bringing him in. He's a stud. All of them are studs. You really can't go wrong if you get Evans, Adams, or T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney, Hollywood Brown. There's a lot of good receivers hitting the open market. I'd like to see us bring in one of them. Jet Engine says, brace for impact. They all got to go. So Jet Engine, I think he's referring to Douglas and Saleh and Hackett. That would be the ballsy move to do, because I think you call Rodgers bluff at that point, right? Like, hey, Rodgers, are you going to leave $35, $40 million on the table and retire? I mean, he was guaranteed those 2 years. So I think if you retire, you'd have to give back that year of guarantees. I don't think you could just collect that without playing. But I think the Jets could call his bluff and just say, hey, we're canning Zach, we're booting Lazard, or I guess Lazard's probably locked in based on his contract. But, we're getting rid of Hackett, we're getting rid of Salah, we're getting rid of Douglas, we're getting Jim Harbaugh in here. He's going to draft himself J.J. McCaffrey or some other quarterback of his choosing. And then you're going to see, a whole new regime change. Maybe that's the way they go. I'm scared to death that Douglas is going to pass on the quarterback this year. Rodgers is not going to look the same after the Achilles injury. He's going to decide to retire after next year. It's going to be a lost season. It's not going to be good. We still won't have the playoff drought broken, and we won't have brought in a quarterback that could have learned from Rodgers for an entire year. That is my biggest concern right now. I feel like you have to at least bring in some level of heir apparent to Rodgers, even if it's a backup quarterback that you can rely on to start, even if you had to go for a quarterback in the 2025 draft. I don't know, man. It gets me scared. I know what we've come from in terms of head coaches and GMs, and I don't know how much of the failures should be totally, like, when you look at the win-loss record for Douglas, that's one a lot of people point to. It's like, well, kind of put a little asterisk on it because 2020, we 100% were trying to tank. So that's a successful, sort of situation in some weird roundabout way. Like, I clearly don't think we were trying to win games. We put a very bad roster out there for Sam Darnold and Adam Gase. But I don't know. It sucks. You look at the last few years and it's been a tough go of it. And it's hard to keep making excuses. And Kevin C., who's been on the show before, had a really good post. And I actually have it pulled up on my phone right now. Since Douglas got here, 2019, I just got here. I didn't have a draft. I didn't have free agency. You can't blame me. 2020, well, we're tanking. That's the excuse. 2021, well, we have a rookie quarterback. We're going to be kind of bad. 2020, or that was 2021. 2022, well, it's only year 2. And I'll be honest, year 2 was definitely supposed to be more of an evaluation year, more of a growth year, and then you were kind of expecting big things from Zach and the rest of the team this year. But we kind of, like, I don't want to say accidentally got good, but we lucked into offensive and defensive rookie of the year. We had Brees, who was incredible last year. JJ, is obviously coming on this year, but we played much better earlier, and expectations kind of elevated because of that. And, the only year 2 kind of went from only year 2 to like, man, we could have made the playoffs, and, expectations change. And then this year you got the Rodgers getting hurt. So there is some level of excuse in each and every year that Douglas is here. And I'll be honest, I do buy like some of them. Some of them are legit. Rodgers getting hurt shouldn't have ended our season entirely. It should have ended probably our Super Bowl chances. But if you have a credible backup in here, he could at least hold down the fort until you get to 2020 or the end of this season, and maybe you get Rodgers back. We didn't think we were going to get Rodgers back once he went down with the Achilles initially. It took, 2 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks after he got hurt when he was on the Pat McAfee show. I don't know if it was that Friday or the following Tuesday, but I could see them all go. I don't think they're going to do it this year. I think they're going to give him the opportunity to play with Rodgers. Joe S. says, if Jets finish top 5, do you draft a quarterback? I would like to trade down. If we have a top 5 pick, I think Williams and May are probably still going to go ahead of us. Like, let's say we're at number 5, like a worst case scenario. You have Williams and May probably go within the top 3 picks. Marvin Harrison Jr. would go early. The tackle from Penn State seems to be a pretty highly recruited guy. You would have to be taking Penix that early. And I haven't watched enough of Penix to know if he's the guy. I like him. Now, if you're supposed to look, not supposed to, I would prefer to not have the expectation of that quarterback the same way we had with Sam and Sanchez and Zach. And even Geno to some extent. Like, Geno was supposed to be a top quarterback in his draft that fell to the second round. So there was like this, wow, Jets got so lucky he was a highly recruited guy. But if you're now taking quarterback 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe end of the first round, top of the second round, I feel like that lowers the expectation level a little bit and provides a little comfort, maybe not as much clout for the young guy. Like Zach came in, he was the unencumbered, not an unencumbered, but no one was challenging him for the first quarterback spot. He didn't earn his spot, just like Sam didn't really have to earn his spot either. I don't know. I want them to sit behind Rodgers. I'm afraid they're not going to take a quarterback. So Joe S., I'm very much in the camp of I would like a quarterback this year, but I'm more back end of the first round, top of the second round. I think offensive line is definitely more important than quarterback right now. Kishan, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. He says the Jets can still make the playoffs with one win against the Dolphins, Falcons, and Texans. Rodgers then returns against the Commanders and wins out. I kind of hope we lose so we don't risk. I would shut down Rodgers. I don't want Rodgers back the rest of the year. I think this offensive line is far too scary. I don't think it's worth it for this season. I don't know. Like, if we weren't on our offensive line number 13 and 14, maybe I'd think differently, but I want the win against the Dolphins. I really do. I want that win more than anything else. It's the one fan base I just want to shut up more than anyone else. I can't tell you how many friggin' Dolphins fans get in my DMs or my Twitter mentions. Super annoying. I'm glad they pop into the chat because some of them do have some decent commentary. But man, I just don't want to deal with it. I really, really don't. All right. I think it's time that we open up the phone lines and kind of see what you guys are thinking about out there. So let me post the link. Remember, if you guys want to call into the show, you will be on video chat this time. I know the link will say no, I didn't have time to edit it, but if you click on the link and you hop into the live chat, you'll pop up in this little box right here and we'll have a little conversation. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. We've got our first guy up, Lima Bean, joining the show. Lima Bean, hold on, give me 1 second. I need to activate it. Boom, Lima Bean, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm pretty good. I guess instead of beating the dead horse about like the quarterback and stuff, I just want to go into the future. First thing is we got to stop talking about this trading or getting rid of Bryce Huff. Like, let's just give him no, let's not lose our good players. Like, that's the mistake we always did in the past, like John Abraham and stuff. Like, keep him. We pay him the money that we're paying to. I forgot the name of the other guy from the Bengals that we got, like, and he's not doing anything
Carl
anymore.
Lawson.
Yeah, Lawson, exactly. Him. Second, you for like many weeks you've been talking about Bakhtiari. That dude is more injury prone than Becton right now. Yeah, he was once a great all pro bowler, but he's old and he hasn't played a full season in like 5 years, and he's missed the past 2 out of 3 seasons, and in the middle season that he played, he was injury prone in that too. Like, he's guaranteed to go down. He's only played 1 game this season. And 1 game
so my thought process with Bakhtiari is we're clearly bringing in Rodgers guys. And I think if you were kind of looking at Becton,
what's the point of having him? He can't play. He's just going to go to the IR. Listen, we got to tell Rodgers, do you want to be protected? Like, listen, if you want Bakhtiari that bad, he can go to the practice squad and chill with those guys. But we got to have our O-line set, and then Bakhtiari should be like the 5th guy on the line roster. And if he's healthy, great, he can play. But if he goes,
so that's just it. That's what I would want. I think he's been so injured the last few years that he's not going to command a huge contract.
He might
and when he's healthy, he's top 5. He's top 5 as a position.
He's never healthy.
But that's all right. If you're not paying him, you're only wasting a roster spot. Are you telling me you wouldn't want to have get rid of Bawden for a top 5 tackle, even if you only get him for 9 games?
But we're not he's only been playing.
I'm not saying have him as your only option.
But here's the thing: if we have that roster spot with him, then it's going to be like he's not. How do I say this? We might have another tackle that actually could play that we could count on. Like, okay, let's say a guy goes down.
We see a bunch out of Carter Warren, and it kind of eases some of our
here's my list. Our biggest need is O-line and wide receiver. I don't know who we're gonna get, whether it be T. Higgins or the guy from the Raiders or whatever. But we need those things. honestly, I just feel bad for Salah and JD. Like, yeah, listen, JD dropped the ball on some things, but there's a gut feeling that says that once Rodgers went down, he was like, "Fuck it, that's not worth it." You know, like there's
Yeah.
this part of me that believes that like it was so easy to get Josh Dobbs, and he's like, "Nah, why even waste something on this season? It's not going. If we're not going to win the Super Bowl, it's a waste kind of deal."
I think
Like
Woody
it's
told we heard rumors that they did
said
not guarantee the
one,
coaches like
yeah,
safety for the season, but I think they did. And I think
no,
Douglas
but
at that
it's
point was like, well, I'm not wasting any more draft capital because next year's the season we
yeah,
need to go all in.
like honestly, like the thing about these coaches, like I said, look at Zach Taylor without Joe Burrow, look at Bill Belichick without Brady. Like it's hard to blame like Salah. Like you can't make chicken soup out of chicken scratch. Now I don't know if he's the guy, but I
Mhm.
think if you were 7-2 with Rodgers, we'd be cheering his praises. And same thing with Joe Douglas. This is the most talented roster we had in so long, and that's why it's
Mhm.
painful. Like when we lost in 2020, we kind of knew this team sucked. This team is not
Sure.
bad. We just don't have a quarterback. Like the Texans are an awful roster, and they're
Mhm.
saving their coaches and GM's job. That GM is one of the worst GMs of all time. He lucked into Stroud, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
what's saving him. He made
Sure.
every mistake known to man. So, I don't want to go back to the days of McCagnon and Insick drafting defensive tackles. Like even
Mhm.
Will McDonald's looking pretty good when he plays. Like we're actually having a pipeline. You know, like we're
Oh,
doing
but
things
could
the
you
right way.
imagine like if we didn't draft Will McDonald, now you can re-sign Huff and then you'd probably have JSN and now you'd
We can
have your
still
receiver.
re-sign Huff. Like that's the thing. Why can't we re-sign these guys? We have the money. Cap room
I
is
think you've
like
invested so much into the defensive line. You have to make a
it's three
decision whether you
guys.
franchise tag Huff and let him ride for one season and try to win the ring next year, or
He's
you
our
trade
best.
him for like a
He's our
second round
best
pick to.
pass rusher.
Oh, I love him. Don't get me wrong,
He's.
but
I
like
think we could get away
I
with
think
like
we've
what we're
boxed
paying
ourselves in.
Lawson. No, but like think about it. They got the rookie contracts right now. We could pay him while they're on the rookie contracts, and when that
Mhm.
time is up, then we could figure it out from there. Like he's only going to take Lawson's money. That's it. Like it's not that difficult to pay Huff.
Yeah, but we only have 30 million in salary cap space. So if you're going to
I
franchise
mean,
tag
how
Huff
did
for
the
20
same?
some
How
odd
did Josh
million,
Allen get Von Miller? Like teams always find a way to do this.
but
We're the
but
can't
you
be
didn't
we're the only ones
franchise tag
without.
Von Miller. They signed him to a long-term extension for big
We
money.
could.
So like
I am sure we can finagle something, but we have this cap space to do this. Like, listen, we're gonna get rid of a lot of dead money. Like Corey Davis's money is gonna be like it's gone.
it's
Like a
already
lot
off
of
the books.
yeah,
Corey Davis is
Lawson's
already
money's
off.
gone.
Lawson's already off.
Yeah,
Like we only have 30 million. It's not like you're cutting players to create cap space. The money's already gone. Like it's only
maybe
30
what if
million.
you think Rogers will also like fluctuate his cap space more to give us more because he's like, hey, we need these guys. We need health. Like we need
No,
depth.
Lima Bean, you've been ejected.
You're out
I
of
got
here!
more people to get to. Sorry, Lima Bean. Some decent points. Decent points in there. Let's see. Let's go over to we got Jake. Jake joining the show. How you doing, Jake?
A happy day today.
That good, right?
Am I supposed to be smiling? I don't know. I think I should take a shot of whiskey or something. I don't really know how to process any of this right now.
It's brutal. What do you, I guess, want to see the rest of the way out? Because I think we could kind of chalk up the season to being just done at this point. So like, what are you looking for the rest of the season at this point?
Well, let's back up for a second, okay? The season was over a month ago because Zach Wilson was terrible in all the wins. Also, Jet fans, I want to hear everyone understand this. The reason why everyone kept talking about his great game in Kansas City, which, by the way, he played a very subpar game for NFL standards, is because Patty got destroyed by our defense. So anyone that wants to continue to make this argument of he played the same stats or had better stats,
he had some really nice throws though. That's the
dude,
thing. Like the stats may not have been like
garbage. It's a garbage argument. I don't even want to hear it. I'm not even going to hear it. And
I
that's
think
what
you
we've
could
done
look
all
at the
season
Chiefs
is we
game and look at the
sugarcoated
first
this
4
whole
games. You could look at the first 3 games and then see the Chiefs game and be like, okay, this was Zach's last chance. And I think that's what it was. I think the Chiefs game was Zach's last chance. And he looked like, wow, he might be turning a corner. And then from there on, I think Jet fans, and I know myself, and I think the coaching staff probably bought into it, was there was an excuse for every other game. It was like, okay, he didn't look great against the Eagles, but it is the Eagles. Then it was like, okay, the Giants, but it was raining really hard and like no one was having any good offense. And then it was the Chargers game. And the Chargers game for me was when Simeon should have been QB2 and you should have been able to pull Zach at halftime. And they didn't do it because I think that would have. I think we needed a higher floor quarterback more than we needed a higher ceiling quarterback. Does that make sense?
Sure.
No, I think it does. I don't think we need great quarterback play at that point in time because you had the Chargers, the Raiders, and then the Bills. And if you had baseline quarterback play, I think you probably don't win the Bills game, but I think you win the Chargers game, and I think you win the Raider game. Remember, Zach Wilson spotted the Chargers 17 points in that game. He sacked that took us out of field goal range and 2 fumbles that led to 14 points.
Yeah, look, I mean, collectively, the whole team has had its struggles. And I'm the guy that will say that Ryan Leaf Jr. is 99% of the problem. 1% are the penalties. Well, actually, no. I guess we have to
find a
big
problem, too. I think
Hackett's a problem. He can't coach outside of having Rodgers. And Robert Saleh is a pussy. I'm just going to call it for what it is. He's a pussy who does not want to act like he doesn't want to be mean to his players. This is Todd Bowles all over again.
I don't know. I don't buy that, though, because, like, do you think it was all an act for Hard Knocks? Like, do you think it was, like, we saw him go off in the locker room. Like, just because he's not dragging his players through the dirt.
He has to get in their faces. Enough. He has to get in their faces.
That rant was one of the better rants I've ever seen.
Dude, that is
He went off on the O-line.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to go off on your players in a public setting in order to hold them accountable.
On the sideline? Did you see Quinn Williams sideline screaming?
Oh,
I was like, wow, he's doing what Robert Saleh has no balls to do. He actually went up there, and then he did it last year.
That's not for the team.
He did it last year also when they were down. Was it 0-2 and they were struggling?
Oh yeah, against the Bengals. I feel like that's more for the fans and the media than it is for the team. I don't know. I mean, maybe the team responds to getting yelled at. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I've seen it really work in like other teams' favors. I've seen Daboll go off on every person like every game this season, and they only just started having a few wins with DeVito.
You know what? Because they're getting it done. Brian Daboll is getting stuff done.
I like Daboll. I like Daboll as an offense. I think if you give the Giants Hackett and you give us Daboll, I think Daboll's a much better offensive play caller. He's been in successful programs, both with Buffalo and New England and Alabama. Like he's much more like accomplished than Hackett is. I think that's the bigger like deal. I don't know so much. I don't know. I get Saleh deserves blame, but I think Douglas, Hackett, and Zach deserve the most blame, in my opinion.
Sure.
I don't know
but they're coming back. They're all coming back for Rodgers. They're all coming back.
Do you think they have the stones to take a quarterback?
Look what he's done with Jared Goff. He reincarnated Jared Goff. If I'm the Chargers right now, I would fire Brandon Staley and get Ben Johnson here immediately. That guy looks like the next big offensive mind in the NFL, and that is what we need. We need a guy. Enough with the defensive coaches. Enough. It doesn't work. It worked with Pete Carroll, and it may have worked with Belichick because he had Brady. It doesn't work anymore. You're going to see guys like Bobby Slowick, who's doing it with CJ Stroud. He'll be a head coach in 2 years. You're seeing Ben Johnson do it.
Brian Johnson's going to be a head coach.
Hardball on this team. It's the reality. Look at the two teams playing tonight on Monday night. The two offensive-minded guys. That's going to be the Super Bowl again. So we can sit here and talk about all the things we can change this and tweak this. That's what you're watching tonight. That is what we're so freaking far away from. Period. We are so far away from this.
So you don't think Rodgers would help us next year? Like can Rodgers lead us to like a top offense or no? You don't think it happens with Hackett and Saleh and all them?
No, I think Rodgers gives you a chance. He absolutely gives you a chance. I think his recovery shows me the guy is like a cyborg at this point. But at the end of the day, the Jets won't do what they need to do because people think it's insane. Just use every single draft pick on offensive line. I don't care if they draft 4 tackles next year.
So you don't want a quarterback at all?
I want a Well, the only quarterbacks I want are like Drake May.
Oh, I'm not you don't touching like the other guys?
I'm a Big Ten guy. I've watched Michael Penix. He's been injured twice, and he's overrated. He's going to a Big Ten. You don't like Daniels
or McCarthy or Bo Nix or
Ewers? He's a dweeby. Though I like Quinn Ewers, but unfortunately, he got a bad look in Texas. He had Steve Sarkisian as his offensive coordinator. If he stayed at Ohio State, they'd be a national championship team right now. And we're stuck with Kyle McCord, who I think they could beat Michigan. But I know J.J. McCarthy. He's a system baby little Zach Wilson. I've seen this kid. He barely throws the ball. He says the same as that guy Alar with Penn State right now. This quarterback class has been – you take Caleb Williams. I don't care that he was crying with his mommy and daddy.
I don't care about that. I care about more so the losses of big games. Like that. Like he does not look good in big games. Against good opponents, I should say. Like he only looks great against trash. And it's outside of the confines of an offense, which is scary because that's how Zach looked good. Zach was like, freelancing. And then it's like, oh, wow, okay, look at that. Wow, Patrick Mahomes throw and all that. Like, I kind of want someone that can operate within an offense and make the reads.
Stroud was terrible in big games last year. Stroud was terrible in 2 years. CJ Stroud of Ohio State couldn't beat Michigan, almost lost to a 1-win Northwestern team. The Georgia game was what got him the second pick overall. I say that wholeheartedly. My brother and I are diehard Ohio State fans. We still believe Justin Fields can be a great quarterback because he's still showing it to you through all the injuries and all the bullshit roster that Matt Eberflus and Poles, whatever, put together. Stroud got the number 2 pick for the Georgia game. That got him. If he tanked in that game, he would be a bottom first-round pick, and he'd be stuck being a backup somewhere. But at the same time, also, Bobby Slowick, once again, guys, Bobby Slowick is going to be a head coach in 2 years if he keeps putting this with Tank Dell. And also, T. Higgins is going to be a Texan next year. Watch. He's going to be a Texan next year. He's going to get paid with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and they're going to be good together. So that's the back of my point. So we can say if you want.
I thought Stroud was the safest quarterback in this last draft. Like, for me, I thought the Panthers, when they traded up, I was like, oh, they're definitely going Richardson. They're going with the athletic freak. There's like a special kind of thing in coaches' heads where they think they can take the best athlete and make him into the best quarterback ever. But I thought Stroud was the safest. He was the tallest. He had a good arm. He had everything looked right with Stroud. And like they took Bryce Young at 1. Like I think Stroud would have gone early regardless. I don't think it was just the Georgia game that did it. But Jake, I got a bunch of callers on the line. I appreciate your time. Boom! You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, let's move over to Charles. How you doing, brother?
All right. I was at my friend's house watching the game. It was very disappointing. It was disgusting, man. I mean, the team I felt didn't really show up to play that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it didn't feel like they came out to play. It felt like, from the first snap. And what sucks is, like, I like Gibson a lot. This has been a big problem with Gibson all year. He's had muffed punts. He's had muffed kicks. His, like, training camp, he had a bunch of muffs. And I like him, too. I think he's going to be, like, pretty good. He's just got to hold on to the ball better.
I agree. He's got to hold on to the ball better. Plus, they activated Israel Bonacana, and he doesn't get it until, like, garbage time. What the hell's up with that crap?
Yeah, I don't really understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. It feels like they're just trying to justify Dalvin Cook's contract at this point, which you really can't. Like, if he's going to get money for being active, at this point, just friggin' deactivate him. I think the only reason you don't is because, like, the optics of it more than anything else. I don't know. I like that we're going to see Carter Warren more. I like, as much as I don't want to see Becton get hurt and, be out for a while, I think I would rather see Carter Warren the rest of the way out at left tackle.
Same here. I thought Becton was playing pretty well this year. I thought he was having
He gives up. So he was deceptively. He was not the reason we were losing. He was probably one of the better offensive linemen, but he was giving up a sack a game. Like, I think he's given up like 8 sacks this year. It's like really not great.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I was looking at it the other day. I was a little surprised, but I think it's because the rest of the O-line looked so bad. He probably just didn't look bad by association. But he has not had a good season compared to where I thought he was going to be after his rookie year.
His rookie year, he was pretty solid, but this year, I'm surprised. Wow. I didn't know that he was giving up 8 sacks this year. That I did not know, but
let me look it up.
I don't understand why Hackett refuses to develop a freaking offense. Come up with a game plan. Brian Dable, last year, the biggest reason why they won with Daniel Jones, my dad said this to me today while we were going to Costco. He came up with specific offensive plays for Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones last year, even though he's not that good
for Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a turnover machine, and then Daboll takes over, and all of a sudden he's not turning the ball over. Now he looks like a good quarterback. He took that same style, brought it over to Danny Dimes in New York, and now Allen's throwing turnovers, and Danny Dimes cut back on the turnovers until, I guess, this year. I don't know what his stats are, but he
the offensive line for the Giants this year is atrocious outside of, like, Andrew Thomas and babyface Brock Lesnar, John Michael Schmitz. But that's when I shit you not. I got that nickname from, like, one of the Giant YouTubers, like, we got babyface Brock Lesnar, and I was like, oh my god! So I started laughing.
So I was wrong on Mekhi. Mekhi has 6 sacks given up on the year. 1 against New England, 1 against the Chiefs, 1 against the Broncos, then Philly, then Giants, and then Las Vegas. He did not give up a sack. Well, he only played in 8 snaps, I guess, this past week. I don't know. What do you think, Charles? We drafting the quarterback this year?
To be honest with you, I don't fucking know, nor do I care, because his coaching staff to me blows.
Oh,
That's just the
Charles,
way
come on!
I
I want some excitement. Give me something to be looking forward to at least. All right, we got Ryan King on the show. Ryan King, how you doing, brother?
I'm all right. How you doing, bud?
Boom, not too bad. I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to like stay as positive as I possibly can.
That's hard when you're a Jet fan.
It definitely is.
So I made a comment the other day. With all these drops that the Jets are having, it seems like their sponsor, that their new sponsor is. I can't believe it's not butter, because you got so many Butterfingers. I swear to God, it's
I
driving me
love
nuts.
it. I mean, even Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's got what, 2 or 3 drops and 2 fumbles in the last 3 games. It's like it's bad. He's not
Dude,
like
I don't know
I feel like
what
everyone's
is
trying to do
going.
more, and that's causing the issues. Maybe, hopefully.
I don't know what's going on, but it seems like the past couple of years, man, this team has suffered from the drops. It's like they're scared of the ball, and I don't know if that's Zach Wilson, but like, what drives me nuts, man, is why would the Jets get rid of Mike White? Why would they just let him walk like that? That boggles, excuse my language, my fucking mind.
I
Because
can
it's
tell you
like,
exactly why they
I
did it.
mean,
It's
what?
100% Douglas wanted to let Zach sit behind his idol. He thought there was no way Rodgers was going to get hurt because he was going to play every game like he always had. And they didn't want to keep Mike White because there was already a division in the locker room, and they wanted to try and retain as much value as they could have in their number 2 overall pick. I think that's flat out what it was. And like, it would have been a $20 million dead cap hit, so we would have eaten an additional $10 million this past offseason to cut Zach or to trade him. I think that's why. And then I think Mike White also realized, hey, if I go back up, back to my hometown in Florida, I go to Miami, I back up a quarterback that's been injury prone in Tua, I could be the starting guy in Miami going against the team that wasn't giving me the fair shake. So I think it was to some degree
let me
mutual.
say a few things. Let me say a few things, and I'll probably be cut off by time,
Yeah.
but let me tell you, number one, I would rather a head coach make a stance and cut someone like Zach Wilson last year at the end of the year during the offseason and admit to mistakes, and cut Dalvin Cook right now and say, hey, he's not really doing it for us. And because you know what, Parcells used to do this every year. Every year he would cut a veteran because they, excuse my language, fucked up in some way, screwed up somehow, to send a message to the rest of the team. Do you remember the whole gas can with Curtis Martin? Do you remember that story or
No,
no?
I don't remember that. What happened
So
with the
Curtis
gas can?
Martin. So Curtis Martin came in to the Patriots. This is when Bill Parcells was
Yeah,
with the Patriots.
sure.
And Curtis Martin was kind of like, boosting himself up. And so he went ahead and he ran him the entire practice. We're talking about like 50 plus runs. He came into the locker room. Bill Parcells had a gas can sitting there at his locker, halfway full, and said, "Your tank's half empty." Like, that's motivation, dude. That is
Sure.
pure motivation. Like, I love that. Okay. And we're talking about like, let me tell you something. With the Jets, you got to look at it. First of all, I want to see the greatest show on turf with the Jets. I love the defense. I'm a defensive guy, but
Sure.
I want to see. I've never seen a high-powered offense with the Jets. One quick thing, real quick.
Yeah.
I listened to a general. I want to say a couple years ago, and he said a story. He said he was hanging out with some old heads in the Russian military. And he asked him, he says, hey, he says, during the Cold War, why didn't anything kick off? And the Russian general had stated, he says, we weren't scared of your military. We weren't scared of your Air Force or Navy or anything. We had contingencies for everything. The main reason why it didn't kick off is because no matter where we landed in the United States, we were going to come under heavy gunfire by private citizens that own their own weapons. And we couldn't account for that. And it's like, the Jets need to think like, hey, worst case scenario. And I feel like they go, hey, our starters are good. We have decent backups, but they never think like, hey, what about if the worst case? Like I went into
It's
I went into the
hard to
first
prepare for the O
I
line
went into
issues.
but I went into that first week and I was there at the stadium and I was in the parking lot and I had an eerie feeling. And I'm like, what if he goes down this game? And I swear to God, I was sitting there in the stands next to my stepson, who's a Buffalo Bills fan, and he goes, "We're gonna break your fucking quarterback's ribs." And all of a sudden, Rodgers goes down, and he
Pop.
goes, "I fucking told you." And I said, "Don't talk to
You're
me."
it. You're not getting on the plane. You're not getting back in the car.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, what worst case scenario with the Jets has always happened, dude. It's always happened. Always. I mean, talk about who has the worst luck? Geno Smith's jaw being broken in the locker room by our offensive line, the butt fumble. I mean, we've had the Spygate that was against us. We traded away Belichick, and look what happened there. I mean, I know it wasn't all him, but I mean, he got Brady. I mean, what's the luck of
You're
that
not
happening?
wrong, but I gotta eject you. Boom.
Listen, you're out of here.
Ryan, I've been too generous with the time. We got a lot of callers on the line. Mo comes in. Mo says, Zach's ceiling is the basement. Woof. Watching him play makes me drowsy. No rhythm, no flow, just straight sanitation. Jets still making horrible moves. Why isn't Simeon quarterback one? I don't know why Simeon isn't quarterback one. I feel like we're just trying to not hurt Boyle's feelings, or I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I feel like Simeon should absolutely be quarterback one right now. As far as Zach, I feel like Zach is part of the whole problem. I think we're going to see a similar style offense in terms of things sputtering, penalties, guys with miscues. For whatever reason, I think we're just in our own head, and I don't think it's going to be very pretty. I'm not optimistic, unfortunately. All right, let's jump over to Matt. Matt, how you doing, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I am hanging in there. I'm trying to salvage whatever little bit of hope and fun we could have for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's bad. I mean, at least last year, we knew up till the Seahawks game, we had no shot of making the playoffs. We're entering week 12 and we're already looking at mock drafts. I mean, it's pretty bad. But a couple of things I want to say. We're as bad as as bad as we've been. I mean, I'm still going to give hope, not for this season, but for previous years, because we're really not that far away. We have our first round pick for next year because Rodgers got hurt, so we're still going to have a top 10 pick, I'd say, next year. And
Yeah.
there's so much options, I feel like. So you could either draft your future quarterback, let him sit behind Rodgers so you never have to be in this shit show again, or you could take one of the loaded receivers or one of the very good offensive linemen, or trade back for more picks and get more value. There's just so much options, I feel like. For an example, if you want to go receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to be there, so then go get Malik Neighbors. Neighbors and Garrett Wilson would be sick. And then also Ramon Dunze would fit our team better. Then you could also get Joe Alt from Notre Dame, or you could draft Bo Nix or Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix is going to be amazing.
Now, what do you think about how do we do the quarterback thing? Would you use a top 10 pick on a quarterback or a wide receiver? Because our next pick is in the third round. So you're if you're doing the quarterback thing, do you piss off Rodgers? Have you solved all the issues of the team in free agency where you have that flexibility to do it? Would you trade down? Are you looking to move a player for an additional pick? Looking to trade up from later in the draft?
It's a really tough situation because you're playing to win now because you traded for a Hall of Fame quarterback who doesn't have 5 to 10 years left. If we're being honest, he has 2 to 3, 2 to 4 maybe. And how is he going to be after this Achilles? So I was thinking about this the whole day. It's so tough because if you can get a quarterback though, Michael Penix, so I think he's the second best in this class. Like because I like him a lot because he's done it against tough competition. He makes tough throws in the pocket, and he wins against top teams. So, like for an example, I'm not saying he's going to be better than Caleb Williams, but like who has Williams really like played against good like he hasn't played good against good defenses.
I
Penix,
would
on
say
the other
Williams
hand,
and
is
May are the two
delivered.
quarterbacks that I would kind of want to be out of position to get, like sort of the same way I felt about Kayvon Thibodeau, where I was like just a little uneasy about him. I hope they go in front of us. I think the value with quarterback is more so in the tail end of the first and beginning of the second.
Yeah, like I think Penix.
Boom! Sorry, Matt.
Listen, you're out of here.
I got to be aggressive with the ejection seat. We're going to go over to Dan, then Jet Engine, then Christian. Then I got Sneakers to Boots and Jeremy on the line. I'm going to hop over to Boogie Down Bronx real quick. He says, Rodgers got the Jets all effed up. Bringing in his buddies have all been disappointing, especially Hackett, and Wilson should be released yesterday. So Hackett was brought in to attract Rodgers. I don't know how much Rodgers, unless there was all back channeling saying like, hey, we got to get Hackett because that's the only way Rodgers will come. I mean, that's entirely possible. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But I think that's just sort of the cost of getting the quarterback, and the quarterback's more important than anything else. The only thing that sucks is like a good offensive coordinator can help out a struggling quarterback, and I don't feel like we're creative. Like when you take a first down pass and you throw an incomplete pass, I can guarantee 9 times out of 10 that 2nd and 10 play is going to be a run right up the gut, and we're going to get no yardage, and it's going to be 3rd and 10, and all of a sudden the drive is over. Like there's no creativity when it comes to Hackett either. Rodgers is putting us in a very odd situation, but I like the dice roll of going with Rodgers. You couldn't have anticipated the Achilles and everything going sideways the way it did. I think there was a higher chance of Rodgers being here for 3 years than there was him getting knocked out for the entire season, early on, because he's played in every game. I don't know. I get where you're coming from, Boogie Down Bronx. I think you are right that in hindsight, we are getting kind of hosed by the Alan Lazard, the Dalvin Cooks, and that sort of stuff. But I feel like the roster spot is more of the loss at this point, more so than the money, because Rodgers restructured his contract. We don't get the benefit of the restructure because these guys are bad, but I'm less irritated with it because of the restructure. Let's go over to Dan. Dan, how are you doing tonight, dude?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Dude, it's just rough. It sucks being a
Jets. Hanging in there. It's just, I mean, it's deja vu to last year. Like
it's
the
carbon copy
over again. It's the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. Except this year we had a little hope because we had Rodgers, but
there's that little bit of like baby hope there, and then it just didn't. I don't know. I feel like the season was stolen from us.
Yeah, it really was. It's just. I mean, I can't with this team, man. It's like anything that can go wrong with this team, it always seems to go wrong. Every
we just
year.
Can't have nice things. We're not allowed to. Didn't you know this? It's the Namath curse, and like we sold our soul for the Super Bowl III, and none of us are allowed to be happy until.
Dude, I know. I thought this was the year. I really did. I was so hyped in the preseason going into this season, like, and then just take it away from us. 3 snaps in, like. Mm-hmm. Can't make it up. Literally only the Jets. This would only happen to the Jets.
Dude, the only other team you can say it's happened to twice, because it happened to Vinny and it happened to Rodgers. It happened to Washington with Theismann and with Alex Smith. That's the only right. Those two franchises. That's the AFC version. We're the AFC version of the Redskins / Commanders, and the Commanders are the NFC version of the Jets. That's how I feel. We're like downtrodden, just can't have nice things. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we go for a quarterback at some point?
I was going to bring that up. Like, I just don't even trust them to develop a quarterback. Like,
well, that's the concern, right? Because what happens if the worst case scenario happens and Rodgers looks bad, and then then Rodgers retires after next year? You pull the plug. Salah's gone, Douglas is gone, Hackett's gone, and you reset. And now this poor young quarterback that you've drafted number whatever overall gets his second offense in 2 years, and now you're in the same cyclical bullshit mode. It scares
me. It's just like, look at our track record of drafted quarterbacks. It's pathetic, man. Like, it's so bad.
Dude, I would almost rather a veteran at this point. The only trouble with a veteran is the contract's going to be an issue at some point.
Yeah, it's just like an endless cycle. It's like they draft someone, you have your hopes up, and they suck. You try to bring in a veteran. This time it's Rodgers. I mean, how long is he going to be here for? And then you're going to it's the same process over and over again, man. I'm tired of it.
Dude, before the injury to Rodgers, I would have said he's here an easy 3 years. I still think it's possible. I think if things go sideways next year, he'll probably retire. But
I mean, yeah, he's not human. Like, the fact that he's already like putting weight on that leg, it's ridiculous. The fact that you even wanted to come back this year is ridiculous. He's not human.
Kills me that like we had that opportunity to be able to have something historic happen with Rodgers, and we're just not going to do it. I mean, unless he like comes back towards the end of the season purely just to say, hey, look, I did it. But behind this offensive line, you'd be crazy to risk the 2024 season. Dan, thank you so much for the call. Boom!
You're out of here!
All right, we got Jet Engine coming in. What's up? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? How you been, bud?
Dude, sucks. Jet fandom sucks.
Get your head and eye protection on, bud, because I'm coming in hot.
All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. Number one, everything that's going on. The bed wasn't built by Joe Douglas, but he made this bed, and he's sleeping in it, and he's putting Robert Saleh out there every week or twice a week in press conferences to answer for his bullshit. Now, here's the problem. We have to go and the bed was made when we can all kind of, hindsight is 2020, but when there's guys like me who are not football professionals sitting there saying, how the fuck do you hire Adam Gase when Mike McCarthy sits down with an entire portfolio with you for 8 hours, tells you how he's going to fix your quarterback, and by the way, here's my staff I'm bringing with me. And then you go and you hire Adam fucking Gase to destroy Sam Darnold.
That was ownership.
Excuse me? No, that's what I'm saying. That was the bed that was built.
Yes.
Douglas came in after Gase had Mac fired because he was stupid. I mean, the guy walked out of the draft room when they drafted Quinnen Williams when they were desperate for offense. Douglas comes in. Immediately, basically, one of his first moves was hiring Saleh after he got rid of Gase, and then shit-canning Sam Darnold, who was as young as Zach is right now, who was as raw, who was actually given less weapons, a worse offensive line.
Sure.
And we shit-canned that guy and drafted a guy that I was on record as saying this guy is undraftable. He's from an insular, tiny little bubble in BYU in a COVID year. He played a garbage schedule, and he beat nobody of consequence. Yeah,
so
he looks great.
Move? Like with hindsight now?
The hindsight move is you hire McCarthy.
I'm saying for Douglas. Like, we can go that far back, but like I'm saying for Douglas with Saleh, the pick for Wilson is an issue.
They should have rebuilt the team correctly. You don't start number one with a defensive-minded head coach. Some rookie, God rest his soul, Greg Knapp, was not going to build your quarterback for you behind a garbage line and with nothing on the team. You build the line. And listen, if Sam Darnold was the sacrificial lamb, whatever. He was on a rookie contract.
Well, to be fair, we traded up for AVT. We drafted Becton the year before. We had two key pieces of our offensive line with a stable McGovern there as well.
Well, I'm going to answer you that, where the move was not Becton. The move was Tristan Wirfs.
I agree. I was yelling for Wirfs on draft night,
screaming that Becton is too big, he's too top heavy, and he's going to get hurt. And I'm just a retired fucking fireman. So anyway,
drug test was my issue at the combine. I felt like Becton was not serious, and I feel like we got to see that kind of throughout his career here with it as a Jet.
No, and the only time Becton got serious and got in shape was his last year at Louisville, so he can catch him. And he did that. He's doing the same thing
here.
Now.
This is the last time he hired a nutritionist too.
And now he's hurt again for the third, fourth time, whatever it is. Anyway, this entire regime. Douglas gets a lot of leeway because he picked this guy and that guy. Listen, Sauce Gardner, you made that pick. I made that pick.
Oh yeah.
Anybody who doesn't make that pick at 4 with Sauce Gardner on the board, it doesn't take a genius. Same thing with Garrett Wilson. The JJ move was nice. JJ's a good player, but you can't just ignore everything else. The fact that this team is constructed so poorly, and now we're going to sit here and after almost a full 3 years of being subjected to Zach Wilson, that they baby and cover for and keep telling us how good he is. you care so much about Zach Wilson, but you couldn't wait to shit can the kid that you had the last time. So don't give me that. It's all phony garbage. You're
Yeah, but
protecting your
there was more
number
going
two.
on with Darnold. It wasn't that they didn't dislike Darnold. It was the time frame of everything. It was the contract. You had to exercise his 5th-year option.
No, you didn't.
In order,
No, you didn't. You didn't have to.
You didn't have to, but were you going to draft Kenny Pickett in the first round of the next draft? Like, that's what I'm saying. There wasn't really an option for the next 2 years.
Build a line. Build a line. This is the same mistake.
I think hindsight, you trade down from 2. And I think you take the 49ers trade. You get, whether you take Parsons
what is
or...
what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You have...
But we had the team built better when we drafted Zach as opposed to when Sam was here. Like, we brought in, like, as much as it didn't really work out, you bring in Corey Davis, you bring in Keelan Cole, you drafted Elijah Moore, you traded up for Elijah Vera Tucker, you had Mekhi Becton, you had Denzel Mims. Like he absolutely tried. It wasn't for a lack of trying. It was just it didn't work out.
And my 12-year-old tries at algebra, but he's not doing great on it. Doesn't make the grade.
But it's not for, like, neglect. It's not like, where we drafted constant defensive linemen with McCagnon or with, Idzik or whatever.
Let me finish my point, though. We did the same shit with Rex, where we brought in a rookie quarterback with a defensive head coach. Mm-hmm. And then a few years later, we do Todd Bowles with Sam Darnold. And then a few years later, we have Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson. This is ridiculous. It's absurd that they keep doing the same thing. Build your team first. All of these decent teams out here who are getting rookie quarterbacks. Stroud is different. That nobody saw that coming. I'm sorry. But that being said, these guys have this team. When you say Corey Davis, for every Corey Davis you mention, I'll throw Justin McCarron's at you. Hell, I'll go way back.
But
and
you
I'll
can't
talk about
blame past regimes for Douglas's you can't blame Douglas for past regime moves. Jet
I
Engine,
agree.
I love you.
Boom!
I love you, Jet Engine. I'm getting way too cute with the timer here. Sneakers to boots. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
Brian, the holidays came early again, like they do every year.
I literally just set it up today. I was like, I'm so sad about my Jets. I was like, I'm going to make a little Christmas tree happen. I was going to wait till the Black Friday game. I was going to wait after Thanksgiving. I was like, screw it. I got free time today.
Well, it looks nice, but I'm mostly also talking about the Jets just giving it to us every year. Yeah.
It is the season, right?
Yeah, it is the season. I understand the whole I want to fire Salah emotional rant. I get it. I mean, he's the forefront. He's the soldier that's leading our team. But this is much deeper than that. You can clearly see it after the press conference. JD's got his fingerprints all over this, and I was a big JD supporter. But after Salah, like the way he answered the question about how would you redo the pick with Zach and Salah giving a pause and then kind of the like like kind of like I would have done something different. That was so telling, and the fact that he pled the fifth, he benched him twice last year, and anybody with a pair of eyes and knows somewhat of even a high school level quarterback or high school level football IQ can figure out that Zach is just not the guy. He's just not the guy. So it's just God.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, what do you think we do? Do we go after a quarterback? Or are we like, I don't know what the right move is. I feel like we need to draft a quarterback. I don't think you can go into next season with just Rodgers unless you have a veteran backup. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Baker would come in as a backup. I think he'll land somewhere, but like some type of younger vet that you feel confident in that could maybe have a second coming, like a Geno Smith. Like that might be the type of quarterback I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'd have to see the market, but I don't want to draft a quarterback. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where I'd be okay with scorchers and the whole thing. Honestly, because
just pull the plug. Would you do it this season, or is it like a next season thing?
Well, I mean, the thing is like we're trusting the same guy in Joe Douglas to redo everything again for the third time and trust in him with Aaron Rodgers, and we're just another quarterback injury away from a 40-year-old quarterback now. So like, who are we going to sign in the offseason? JD didn't want to threaten Zach because of his confidence, which he never had. He never had it. And we try and sign Trevor Siemian. You had 4 separate opportunities to figure this out, dude. Salah even said it was a redshirt year. You know what that means? He doesn't play. They should have let Zach play for like week 2, week 3, but as soon as Rodgers got hurt and they knew it was an Achilles, said, hey, we're going out to get a guy because Zach was supposed to sit the entire year.
Like, he was never supposed to come in. This wasn't the plan. Like that, I agree. I think that's what should have happened. I think Douglas had his job saved by Woody, and I think Salah had his job saved by Woody. I think neither one's going anywhere, and I think it's because of Rodgers. I think it's it's like, oh, don't worry about it. And then Douglas was like, I'm not giving up any draft capital because my job's safe. I think that's could have been part of the problem. I don't know.
I mean, JD said he's one of the best culture in sports, right? Like, honestly, you have to question JD's character if he's going to be the stern one telling Salah he's got to start an inept quarterback that is literally unplayable.
Well, I think Douglas is the issue because he did not bring in a viable backup. Like I think Salah might have been playing the best quarterback in Zach. As weird as that sounds.
I mean, do you think Simeon's not better than Boyle? Like, I mean, at least Simeon has some reputation of like success, right? Like, it's just, and anybody who's brought in with Rodgers with his buddies has been absolutely abysmal.
They've all been trash.
Like,
all of them.
We're doing ourselves the Peyton Manning service again with Aaron Rodgers, because Peyton Manning can run any offense, especially with Gase, right? Like, he was basically the guy who was just called to play.
But we have Rodgers. We didn't have Peyton Manning. Like, see, like that's the hope. I'm hanging on the little thread. I'm trying to save it. Sneakers to boots. You've been ejected.
You're out of here.
Boom. All right, let's go over to Christian. Christian, how you doing, brother?
Oh, man, the ways that this team continues to just piss me off and just irritate me is I could continue adding to the list. Like, I get it. I get why you benched him. He's not good. Everybody knows that. Everybody with a brain knows that. But you really think that putting Tim Boyle in is the answer? Like, oh, Tim Boyle, he's going to save the day. Like, bullshit.
I don't think anyone believes it at this point. I think they know that Zach gave them the best shot to have success because of his ceiling. But, like, I don't think any Jet fan was calling for Boyle. Like, I got so mad when I was reading on Twitter. It's like, oh, see, you Jet fans, you wanted Tim Boyle. I don't know one person that was like, we need to see Tim Boyle on the field. It was like, we need to see Simeon. Boyle's just the practice squad, or should have been the practice squad guy.
Yeah, but I get why you benched him. I'm on board with it, but he's not the only reason of why the team outside the defense sucks. Like the offensive coordinator, he sucks. The Robert Saleh, like, he does not get emotional on the sideline. He just sits there with his face like come on. And to think that the players are the only ones doing the real talking and stuff, like. What does that say? I don't know. I'm not an expert, but at what point do you say enough is enough? And, I'm just so frustrated. And,
now enough is enough is what? Are you talking like Salah? Are you talking Douglas? Are you talking
I'm talking both. I'm talking both, honestly, because look at their I think I saw a stat yesterday of where I think Robert Saleh is saying 20. No. He's in out of 54 games, he only has won 33%, and Joe Douglas has only won 31%. And and also another point, the fact that this year's offense is worse than the 2-14 Adam Gase led Jets. How does that happen? How?
Nate Hackett is up.
Yeah, but. I'm at the point of where, I would not. The only reason of why I would even watch the Black Friday game is if I had nothing better to do.
Do you have anything better to do?
Well, I got studying and homework to do.
I think the answer is I could do anything and it would be better than watching the Jets. It's tough.
Yep. Yeah.
It's real. So what do you think? Jets draft a quarterback this year or no?
Nah, I would not do the same thing because I know what they are like, and it's like the same story. We drafted a quarterback, and we do not have an offensively minded coach. Past history with this team shows that it doesn't work, and I expect the same thing to happen.
Christian, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, let's bring Donald on. Donald, how you doing, brother?
What's up, Ryan?
I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to have a little bit of faith in where we could possibly be going with this team, and I'm not too confident. I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you on that one too, but I feel you. I feel you. I've been a Jets fan for years, and
Mm-hmm.
the same old bullshit. Excuse my French, but the same old thing just keep going on and on, year after year, season after season. You just get tired of hearing and seeing and watching and getting hopes and dreams up for this goddamn team. You know what I mean? Like,
It's going to be so
seriously.
hard for me to get jazzed up for next year because, we got Rodgers coming back, but he's coming off an
Right,
Achilles. And
exactly, right.
there's
And
going to be that
everybody
little
got
thing in the
all
back of
hyped
my
up.
mind.
Yes, everybody got all hyped up when we did the draft and everything. When we got Aaron Rodgers, that was a plus. We was like, yes, we finally got a freaking quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me he went down the first couple plays of the first game of the freaking season?
Crushed. Absolutely crushed.
Yes, that was a major crusher, man.
Dude, I don't know what I don't know what the right move
and
is.
I understand why they benched Zach. And I was man, look, seriously, for real, this team doesn't know what they want to do. Salah, I'm not gonna say he's not a bad coach, but I think he just kind of stuck underneath the Zach Wilson coat thing and stuff like that. It's something in between them two, what they got going with each other or whatever. I don't know if they played with each other years ago or what, or same college, same school, whatever. But
are you thinking pull the plug on everyone this year?
For real, to be honest with you, they should have did the same thing what the Commanders had did. Sold the team.
Oh, dude, I love it. I love it. It feels like we have incompetent ownership. It rots from the head down. And you can't tell me that Woody did not force this trade prior to the draft. It felt like Douglas and Salah were ready to sit and wait till training camp for Rodgers to get here, and that trade cost us the tackle in the draft.
Yes, it really did. It really did. Be honestly, for real, they should have went after Carr when they had the chance to get Carr. Carr would have been a much better quarterback and could probably get us to where we was looking to get to for this season.
So I think the ceiling wasn't as high with Carr.
Rodgers.
I think the ceiling wasn't as high with Carr. That's my issue with that. Like, if you're gonna go for it, go all in. Like, I like the go all in for Rodgers. I thought that was the right move. I thought everything they did was like, okay, this makes sense. We just got like the worst luck possible, and our quarterback got popped Achilles in like the first.
It just seemed like we got a spell written on us.
Right? Yeah. Somebody it's that Namath curse. We can't get rid of it. Dude's got to croak before we get out of the quarterback slump.
Exactly.
Oh, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
God.
If you had to fix the Jets this offseason, is there like a pill that you give the Jets and you say, okay, it's a wide receiver?
Going with Tim Boyle, yes, I might say he's a lot much better than riding the bench with Zach, because Tim Boyle knows the system and he played under Rodgers, so he should know the whole Rodgers scheme and what Rodgers was brought in to do for the New York Jets, for our team and stuff like that. So I mean, you saw what he did when he came in, right? He had the offense running real good after when they benched Zach. The offense was picking up and doing what they were supposed to do.
It's the way it's looked with every quarterback we brought in other than Zach. Every quarterback. Donald, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. John Duggan drops in with Super Chat, says, the inability to move off Zach Wilson will unfortunately waste the young talent on this team, go all in on Rodgers next year, and blow it up if it fails. I think that's going to be the play. I really do. I just hope we draft a quarterback so that way we have someone waiting. Or if it's not drafting a quarterback, like I said before, I think you at least got to bring in a young enough guy that could be, like the second coming of a Geno Smith, or, maybe that's, Baker Mayfield if he winds up, not getting a starting job or something. I keep saying Baker just because it's what's popping in the front of my head, but I'm sure there's other quarterbacks out there that you could probably talk about. Like maybe Tannehill's the backup next year, and you have, not that I think there's any upside with him, but at least he's better than Zach. I don't know. I don't have the right answers. Jeremy, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight?
Oh, snap. Oh, wait, no. Hey, what's up, man?
I'm
over
doing
here
all right.
posted.
I'm just trying to hang in there.
I'll listen to all the little conversations and stuff. I got to come here with some energy. Hold on. I'm gonna let all the Jets fans see it.
Oh,
You see, I got my hair green.
Oh,
you see my hair
dope.
green. I gotta let people know. I gotta let them know, man. Stop coming all that negative energy. I know we having a rough season. I mean, we the Jets. What you expect, man? Shit. We the Jets.
we signed up for this. We knew this was what we
I
were.
know, right? With. So when you became a Jet fan, you already know the ups and downs, the cries, the lows, the highs. We get hyped up. We like, oh yeah, this gonna be our year. This gonna be this, and by the end of the season, we back with like,
hello darkness.
Here we go again. Here we go
Here's
again.
The draft board. Where's Tankathon?
I hear everybody getting on my boy Zach. Get off my boy Zach, cause if you ain't out there in the field doing what he doing, you know what I'm saying, becoming behind all this pressure, becoming behind, but you know what I'm saying, having a bad season, having another bad season, then having Aaron Rodgers come in, take over, get hurt, then you take over again and have another bad season. What you expect? He's a young guy, you gotta put yourself in his position,
Sure, and I almost don't blame Zach to a point. Like there's a certain point, and I picked the Chargers game as my okay, this is where I'm drawing the line. Like you should have had Simeon as the backup there, and Zach playing poorly is just what we get from him. Like at some point, it's not his fault. It's the coach for putting him continually out there.
And I like that they believe in him because they keep giving him opportunities. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, they give him opportunity back at the back. And you know what I'm saying? They have faith in him. And that should give Zach a sense of confidence that at least people believe in me. You know what I'm saying? The team, the corp, you know what I'm saying? Everybody believe in me like they like, damn, they give me the opportunity that I should, come with at least some good play or some good passes, but it is what it is.
Do you think that do they blow it up this year? Or do they go all in on Rodgers probably?
Man, we just gonna have to wait on Rodgers. Wait till he's healthy. Try again.
Yeah. I think that's what it's gonna be.
Man.
I hope it works
let's try
out.
again. We already
as long as we
that.
get to the playoffs next year and Rodgers wants to continue playing, then I'm feeling a little bit better because you're on the right track at some point. I don't know.
But people already know that the Jets.
Bro.
People know the Jets. People come at the end of their career, and then we let people leave and have a best career when they leave, like Sam Darnold, Jamal Adams.
Sam's not doing anything. Jamal hasn't done anything since his big sack
Smith. Even Geno Smith having a good career.
No. You're wrong. You are wrong. You are not correct, my friend. Not correct. All right, who we got up next? We got How About Them Jets coming on next. Let me see. Boom! How you doing, brother?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
Hanging in there. I like your setup. Yeah. I'm glad I'm doing the video thing because you have a dope setup. He's got the projector in the background. I'm jealous.
I'm watching the Chiefs right now. I'm hoping that the Jets could be like one of these teams someday soon. But really quick, what I wanted to mention was Rodgers was on McAfee I think 2 weeks ago, and he said that he's 2 years removed from back-to-back MVP with Hackett. Sure. So I think we can probably kill the conversation that Hackett's not going anywhere. As much as half the Jet Nation hate him right now, I don't think Hackett's going anywhere. I don't think Salah's going anywhere either, and Joe Douglas, because these guys flew out there to bring Rodgers. So to turn around and say, Salah, you're out of here, Joe Douglas, Hackett, I don't think that's happening.
I agree.
So we just have to see.
I think it's very unlikely.
I don't think that's going to happen. So we just have to see what happens next.
Mm.
With Trevor and with Boyle, I'm hoping that either one of those quarterbacks can play better than Zach, and we can see some good football for the next remaining 7 games.
Oh, dude, I'm keeping an eye on all
Even
the
if
young
we
guys.
lose,
Carter Warren is someone I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, Izzy. Just see if there's any growth from the younger guys that help save some of the assets that we may have to use, in the offseason. Allocate them better.
That's what we want to see right now. We want to see what we invested in these young guys. So let these guys get out here and play now. We're probably not going to make the playoffs at this point.
No, yeah,
but there's still a few
like
games
some
we
weird
could win.
Possibility. I mean, if we could have just one win, I really wanted it to be against the Dolphins. I hate the Dolphins fans right now.
Yeah, my wife's cousin, he's a big Dolphins fan, and he's begging me to go to the game. I'm like, nope. I'm gonna pay $200-$300 to go watch that garbage. I'm like, dude, you can come by my house and watch the game. I'm not going there and sit around.
Your house
Dolphins
is gonna be a better
fans.
seat than going to a stadium with that projector. That thing's awesome, 100%.
This is where I sit every Sunday, and I'm just miserable by myself because everyone else I know. and then Ryan, I got to go up the step, and my wife, she knows right away. She's like, I guess the Jets didn't win, right? Because I'm not smiling, I'm not talking. I just go upstairs, and that's it. And she knows. She's like, and then she goes, "You stupid Jets, you stupid Jets," and I'm like, jeez.
My wife, my mood changes so much on Sundays. My wife gets mad at me. It's like, dude, you can't let this continue to eat at you the way it does. It's like we, as fans, we're fanatics. We take it personally. It rains on our parade, and it sucks because it's by choice too. We could pick different teams. We don't have. I could change the colors of these lights. I could order another sign. I get a different blanket. I can't.
Not gonna work, right? Not gonna work.
Not gonna work.
Have a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
You as well.
Yep.
Absolutely, you as well. Yeah. And hopefully your cousin or whatever gets a loss on Black Friday. Fingers crossed, right?
I hope so. Yep.
Boom! How about them Jets is out of here? All right, we got Stephen B joining us, though. Stephen B, how you doing, brother? I got you muted on my side. Or it says you're muted on your own side.
You hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
My camera's not working.
That's all right.
All right. I don't know how to feel anymore. I feel like
just someone tell me how to feel. I'm not sure what to do. I need an adult.
I think Hackett might be the big responsibility behind this whole thing.
I agree. I think the play calling is atrocious. I think the play calling has been so atrocious. It didn't help anyone. I think Zach is an issue too. I don't want to I think Zach will wind up being the scapegoat, and I think we're just going to have to deal with Hackett because Rodgers is here.
Yep, I agree with that. I think next season, if it doesn't all come together, it's all gonna like you were saying before, it's all gonna blow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna have to pull the plug next season. I hope. I don't know. Maybe we don't allow this regime to draft another quarterback. It's like, okay, we are going all in on Rodgers, but at that point, I'd love to trade down. I want to get some more picks, build us some assets to roll into 2025 with, especially if we're gonna get a top 10 pick. But then you can also get the tackle and then the Brickashaw thing. It'd be really nice to have that for the next 10 years. I don't know.
At this point, we're just looking forward to the next seasons. Mike Evans would be our best pick because I don't think Devontae Adams is going to happen.
I don't think it is either. And I don't really want to give up a bunch of assets for it. And I don't know how much I want to give up future assets from a GM that may not be here for those assets. I think there's got to be some level of concern there. And it seems like there's far too much smoke to the Devontae Adams stuff for it not to be true. But I would very much go after T. Higgins or Mike Evans. Those would be the players I'd like.
I forgot which play it was on the Buffalo game, but did you see Saleh looking up to the booth, mouthing something at Hackett?
It didn't key in on me.
He was mouthing something at Hackett.
Get him out. Or something. Maybe, they said it was Hackett that made the call.
Yeah,
I don't
believe
had his
Saleh's
ear
happy
too.
with this
The two of them were up there together.
Yeah, I really don't put any of this on Saleh. And I like Saleh a lot, so it really hurts to see everybody trashing on him because of all this.
Yeah, I think Sal is a good. I should preface this by saying I understand records are everything in the NFL, but I like Saleh. I like Douglas. I think the logistical approach they took to a lot of this stuff makes sense, with the exception of not having a backup contingency plan for Rodgers, a backup quarterback in place. I think they should have at least pulled the plug or made it sure that Zach was the third string inactive guy that was going to get a true redshirt year, regardless of what happened with Rodgers. It sucks because I don't have much of a leg to stand on because Douglas's drafts have been pretty not so great. Now you're looking back on them, aside from the one with Garrett and Sauce and JJ and Brees. Like aside from that, but I don't know. Thank you, Steven. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, we've got Tom the Real. Tom the Real, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm okay. I called in last night. I'm Tom. Yeah, just listening to the last caller, I don't think there's really blame to give to anyone. I think that it's just like I'm a retired chef, and like when things don't go right in the kitchen, they don't go right. It's not necessarily anyone's fault. Sometimes it's just a colossal mistake. Like there's something wrong on some level, sure. But like it's not necessarily anyone's fault. I mean, we have the best of intentions on every level. I just think that like these people are all humans, and like it didn't work out. I really
agree.
hate
I think the only flaw that people were talking about earlier in the offseason was no backup quarterback. And I'll be honest, I was someone that was saying Rodgers has been healthy forever. I trust him to stay healthy again. Derek Carr, the same thing. I trust him to stay healthy. I wouldn't have brought up a backup quarterback with him either. I'd be fine. Yeah, Zach's fine. If we have to have 2 games out of him because Rodgers got dinged up, that's okay. I can live with that. I didn't expect a full season gone from Rodgers. Total.
Yeah, I agree.
That was the nuclear button. That was the, oh no, this can't happen. And it happened.
So let me introduce a theory. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Douglas is his mastermind, and Douglas brought in Rodgers. You know where I'm going. I can see it in your face. Like,
I think you're talking about the 65% won in the first round pick.
No. Sorry.
Ooh, okay.
No.
Let's see.
No, I'm saying that Douglas is such a mastermind. He's obviously super intelligent and super great at his job. I mean, I think that he has a master plan that, I mean, I don't want to bring up certain people with 4D chess, but like, I think that Douglas has some ideas. Like maybe there's a pattern, maybe there's a trend, maybe there's a manipulation in all this that the average fan doesn't see.
The move to get Rodgers, we've seen the thing play out multiple times. Tom Brady gets moved to a new team, wins a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford moves to a new team, gets a Super Bowl. Peyton Manning moves to a new team, gets a Super Bowl. The Jets are primed for a Super Bowl with Rodgers. Like, that was the play. I think that was it. You're going to have to give me a little more detail if you're saying he's got some master plan, because I don't see it outside of the master plan.
That was the plan. That was the plan, sure. But I think that, like, if you're a good manager of people, you come up with plan A, you come up with plan B, you come up with plan C. If A fails, then you rely on B. If B fails, then you rely on C. I think that like Douglas has got some plans. That's my point.
Get the hell out of here. Tom, you can't tell me Douglas has plans and then not tell me what the plans are. Not okay. You got to give me more than that, brother. Got to give me more than that. All right, let's go to Zach. Zach, how you doing, dude?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, but I do think at some point when it's this bad, you do have to point a finger at somebody. Mm-hmm. Might not be the right person. I do think Zach is all right, but kind of bad. And then I think they had to switch to quarterback, and now if it goes wrong, now you can start blaming the OC. I think that's how it works. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Tim Boyle's the answer. So if we look bad with Tim Boyle, I think it almost shields Hackett. I think that's almost what they're trying to do at this particular point, like try to avoid the like, okay, hey, it's the offensive line, it's the wide receivers dropping passes, it's the penalties. It's not Hackett. It's not because there's no continuity and things going on. At least you have the built-in excuse of, okay, oh, well, if Tim Boyle doesn't work out, we tried him for 2 or 3 weeks and it just wasn't the thing. And then we'll go to Simeon, we'll try him for 2 to 3 weeks, and then the season's over. And it's like, oh, well, it's kind of Hackett, but we got Rodgers back, so who cares? Like, that's what I see. I think Hackett is a problem. I really do. I like Hackett, like the person. He seems like a nice dude, but like he just sucks at play calling.
Amen. Yeah, I completely agree. And like I know you opened up with firing. I do not think they'll fire anybody because Rodgers came here for the coaching staff that we have. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And then all of his buddies are on the team. You can't really cut them, even though they're bad. But you kind of get that in a package deal with Rodgers. And then that's something we have to address later down the road, which sucks. And I was so hyped this season. I started wearing my Jets gear out in public for once, and then tear ACR to the Achilles. So I was like, dang.
So what do you do? You think we go after a quarterback this year in the draft, or do you think maybe we just go the veteran route and just sort of, veteran?
Well, I would say is like I think it'll all depend. Like I feel like we definitely need a tackle in the first round. Definitely need some type of wide receiver. Could be a free agent. I would quarterback wise. I would say 3rd round or later, or a veteran. If there's a good, I would almost go rookie quarterback if I had to choose one.
Yeah, I think I'm torn, and I think throughout these conversations that I've had tonight, I've kind of come to the realization that I want to see how Rodgers works out. If Rodgers has a successful season next year, and he's planning to come back for 2025, then I think I let Douglas and Saleh make the pick at quarterback in that draft. I think for this year, I would rather grab a veteran that has high upside, kind of like a Geno Smith level type quarterback, like that, someone in that realm. I don't know who it is, but someone that if Rodgers implodes and retires after the season, you at least have that guy to roll into with the new regime, because I think at that point you do fire Douglas, you do fire Saleh, and then that new regime gets the ability to select their quarterback. So I think that's probably where I'm ending up on this. It does suck if we wind up being in a really good position to draft one, and we don't do it.
It is a good class. You have a lot of good quarterbacks, so it's one of those years. Okay, thank you.
Boom! You are out of here, Zach. Ejected from the cockpit. I wanted to look up. I keep saying Baker, so I'm curious what Baker Mayfield's contract is, and then I'll get over to Carson in just 1 second. So Baker was on a 1-year contract. His salary cap hit was $1.7 million this year. He is going to account for $2.3 million next year. So he signed a contract for $4 million for 1 year. Sign me the hell up for Baker Mayfield as our backup quarterback next year. Sign me the hell up. I don't know if he would want to do it because he may feel he's a starter and could find another job elsewhere. I wanted Broadway Baker back when we drafted Sam. Now, I thought Sam was going 1, so I was happy with Sam. I don't want to, get that twisted. But I would like a quarterback, someone in the vein of a Baker or someone of that caliber. Carson, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight?
It's been a long time, Ryan. How we doing?
I know, it's been a real long time. I am not doing well. I am so confused on what we're going to do.
Yeah, every time we call in and we have a discussion, we don't disagree on much. We're kind of on the same wavelength in terms of where this team should be, going. I don't blame Saleh. I actually love Saleh as a head coach. I think this is, you're watching the game and it just, I'll just refer to the Buffalo game for now because it's, recent. Every single time the Bills brought a lot of pressure on 3rd down, it felt as if Hackett wasn't giving Wilson enough underneath routes to get him the ball out quick. It seemed like everything was, downfield. Granted, it was 3rd and 8 most of the time. So I think play calling in that sense wasn't really helping him. The offensive line is fucking horrible. Excuse my language.
Dude,
I have
so
to say
bad.
It.
So bad.
It's horrible. And you know what? I feel for Zach. I do a little bit because he's getting left out to dry by his offensive line.
Sure.
But kind of moving forward and thinking ahead of time. I'll kind of answer the question you asked the previous caller about what we should do this offseason or looking forward to this offseason. This wide receiver class coming out is unbelievable. Topping
There's
with
like
Marvin
20
Harrison.
guys. They're
And
saying
then you
like
got
20
Keon
guys can go
Coleman coming out of
before
Florida
the
State.
third round or by day
This is
3.
an explosive wide receiver class. Now, I'd preferably love Keon Coleman out of Florida State. 6'4" guy, gives someone in the back of the end zone. Alan Lazard, I don't know what's happened to him. His hands are like fucking bricks. But man, it's just something about it. There's a connection somewhere that it's a disconnect. There's something. You know what stings? And I called into you a while ago, and watching that Buffalo game Sunday night, Buffalo and Denver, right? I remember you made a video a long time ago about when we were looking for head coaches, and you were very high on the Joe Brady train.
I was. Man, that was Daboll and Brady. Or no, it was it Daboll and it might have been Daboll and Kafka. Brady was my first one. Brady was the first one before we fired
wanted
Gase.
Joe Brady so bad, man. After seeing what he did last night with Josh Allen, man, dude, it hurts. It really hurts.
Dude, he's got good like reports with wide receivers. I mean, you look at how Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson developed in LSU. You look at Michael Thomas had some of his best years with Joe Brady. Like he is good. I think he just got stuck in like.
I want to ask you one last question. Leading up to this next season, moving forward with quarterback, I know you said to the last caller that you'd like somebody in the later rounds to learn behind Rodgers. I'm kind of off the Zach train at this point. I think mentally he's just not there anymore. Yep. Drake May, Caleb Williams are going to go in the top 3. Yep. Presumably. Would you stomach taking Penix in the top 15 from Washington, or Bo Nix if he wins the Heisman, or Jaden Daniel? Like, where are you looking? Where are you looking?
So I think throughout my conversations tonight, I've shifted my perspective a little bit. I was very much on the draft a quarterback.
There's so many
train.
avenues we can go.
Yeah, I mean it's such a good quarterback draft class too. Like that's the thing. Like, or at least it's deep. So the Jets don't have to take one at the top. Like I think you take the tackle at the top of the draft and just forget it. Like just plug in the tackle.
You got to go offensive line.
Yeah, I think O-line is what you do at the top of the draft. But towards the tail end of the first and the second is where you start to consider quarterback. But I think my issue right now, and I would take Bo Nix, I would take Jaden Daniels, I would look at
this
McCarthy.
This is such a deep class. It's unbelievable.
Ewers is good.
It's unbelievable.
There's a lot of really, really decent quarterbacks out there. But I think I struggle with having that young quarterback potentially have to have a second offense in 2 years. So for me, I think going the veteran route with someone like a Baker Mayfield, who took a $4 million contract this past year to play on a good defense, but granted he was a starter, so that's why he took a lesser deal.
I don't think he'd go back up. I don't think he's going back up. I don't think.
You think he'll find another starting job elsewhere?
Unless he's guaranteed a starting spot after Rodgers leaves New York, I can't see him signing as a backup quarterback. I can't.
Well, I think it's the like what if, like, hey, Rodgers is, he may retire, he may not come back from the Achilles. Like that's sort of the kind of quarterback. And I think you're right on Baker. I think Baker's probably more likely to find a starting job elsewhere. But find your version of Geno Smith, whatever that quarterback is.
I don't think he leaves Tampa. I don't think he leaves Tampa.
He may not. I mean, I think I could see Kirk Cousins going down to Tampa. Kirk's going to have a lot of options.
I think the Giants are done with Daniel Jones. I think Cousins is a Giant.
I think Cousins is either going to go to – I could see him going to San Francisco and finally reuniting with Shanahan.
You're not high on Purdy?
I think they're high on Purdy, but I think they'd also be fine letting Purdy sit for a year if he turns back into a pumpkin like a little bit into the season, like later into the season, because he's kind of been on a roller coaster right now.
Yeah.
So I like Purdy, but he's so cheap you can afford to sit him if you had to.
This upcoming draft, I think is big for Douglas, and this first round pick is big for us because this is a relatively deep offensive line draft. I kind of already started. I've been watching a lot of college football this year, and what I've gotten out of this year is a lot of explosiveness at the wide receiver position this year. Better than most years. Quarterbacks is deep as hell. A lot of good offensive linemen coming out this year. This is a draft. I wouldn't say Joe Douglas missed on Will McDonald because I happen to like his metrics. I think he's going to be
So
a
do
good
I.
pass rusher.
He was just a pick for the future, which sucks.
I agree because I think he's going to replace Carl Lawson when Lawson's gone. I think that's his spot to fill. But it's so tough because of the cap situation we're going to be in this upcoming free agency as well. It's
you can't spend a whole lot. That's the thing. It's like
I know, and we don't have room. That's the problem. And putting off void years as well because they were going for it this year.
Yeah,
void years is going to come back to haunt us in the next 2 to 3 years, pushing back all this salary.
I think you're going to need a rookie quarterback.
It's going to hurt.
You're going to need a rookie quarterback contract at some point. I don't think it has to be this year. I think you can let it wait for 2025. And I think that's probably the smarter move because you might be pulling the plug on Douglas and Saleh. Like if the Rodgers experiment works out this year and Rodgers comes back in 2025, then I would allow them to make another selection. But if it goes south, I don't want to have the quarterback stuck in like.
I can't pull the plug on Douglas. I can't.
I like Douglas. I like Douglas more than any of our GMs, but I think he tied his whole ship to Zach and to then Rodgers. And if Rodgers doesn't work out at that point, it's tough unless he like really hits a home run on like all the players he drafted this past year and this next draft. Maybe you get another opportunity.
He tied the ship to Rodgers, and he did everything Rodgers wanted. And listen, we cannot be too hypocritical of Joe Douglas because we applauded during this offseason him signing Dalvin Cook. I think everybody wanted Dalvin Cook. I think that was a big thing. When we signed Allen Lazard, everyone loved Allen Lazard. Okay?
Yeah, he was a big body guy.
We can't be hypocritical now. We have to we were applauding the moves that Douglas was making. Okay,
he wanted to make the Odell move. Like we were gonna have Odell, and then the Ravens offered him double the contract. Like I wouldn't have felt comfortable signing Odell to that deal.
He's made the moves that Jets fans have wanted. So how can you be hypocritical of a guy when we're applauding the moves he makes? I don't get it.
I think the issue is the quarterback. Like just because Zach was the fallback plan, that's the one that's really killing him. Like he could have moved off from Zach after this past season. It would have been unlikely because of the salary and whatnot, and you'd eat the dead cap hit and it would look really bad. Like I get that, but it was not bringing in the backup either in the offseason for Rodgers or immediately when Rodgers got hurt. And I was someone that was like, let's see what Zach's got. And then, at the bye week, let's make a decision.
I don't want to sound like a Zach Wilson backer, but be honest, Ryan, be honest. Do you think this year, in Zach's perspective, because I think he's damaged goods at this point. I think the New York media has gotten to him. I think he's got loads of talent. I do. His arm talent's incredible. He shows it sometimes. But it's just like, be honest. Do you think this season is really on him? The offensive line has been fucking horrid.
No, I think.
Sorry.
No, I think you're onto something, and I don't think it's all on Zach. I think he is part of the problem, and I think he's the consistent.
I do agree
that's been over the last 3 years, and I think he's the easiest one to swap out. So in my mind, during the Charger game, I would have swapped to Simeon to just see if you could spark anything, because then you could have gone back to Zach in the Raider game if Simeon looked bad, and then all fans would be like, okay, we know Boyle's not it, and we know Simeon's now not it. It's Zach, and we'll just ride with him the rest of the year, and it sucks. But I think this season was more on injuries, on Hackett, on penalties than anything else. And then you got to see Lazard start playing poorly. And I think there's something to if we didn't have Rodgers and our starter went down, I think we would have made a move for a quarterback. I think we are tap dancing around the Rodgers thing quite a bit. But I don't know if I'd do anything differently. I still think Rodgers was the right move in the offseason. I
do too.
100% agree.
I thought it was a fantastic move. I did. I thought it was fantastic. It was the right move to make at the time. It was either him, it was either Rodgers or Derek Carr. That's the truth. It was either him or Carr. He was here. We had him
I don't
in the
think
building.
Lamar was realistically an option. I mean, sure, you could have tried to give up the 2 first-round picks, but I think they would have matched. I think they would have just given him the contract at that point. That's the only other. Lamar's the interesting one. Lamar's like, man, if you could have had him, but you don't know. He could get hurt.
You know what I said to somebody during the season? It was one of my close buddies who actually just started a podcast. During the season, there was a point in time where I thought that the Jets, and there was early reports, and I believe you made a video about it earlier on in the year, about Justin Fields possibly being an option for the Jets I believe it was pre-Rodgers trade. I think you made the video.
No, it wouldn't have been
Is
me.
that another avenue we could go down? He'd be electric in New York.
It would be cool. I really liked Fields after the Clemson Ohio State game, and I don't think that was the championship.
I remember you had a live stream with Matt, dude, and you were streaming the game.
It was me, Matt, and Greenbean, and dude, Fields was a fucking baller. Dude, he threw a bomb. He was using his body as a bowling ball. Yeah. Like Fields is a fun quarterback to watch. He's got grit to him. Like, I do like that. Zach to me comes off as soft, and I understand where people were coming up with the 3-car garage mindset now that I've seen him for so long. But like, I don't think Fields is an option. I don't think Douglas will do that. I think he should be some sort of an option. I'd be all right with it, but I don't think realistically it's going to be something that he's going to do because he passed on that quarterback to take Zach initially, and I don't think he's going to trade for Fields to get him in here, and they're not going to release him.
It's what we do. It's the most intriguing thing this offseason is going to be how Douglas not approaches the quarterback position, and if he positions himself for the future. Because I think. Is Zach gone after this season? Is he gone?
I think so. I don't know how you have him on the roster next year. I mean, you'd have to make him like the practice squad quarterback if they were trying to, if they like are dead set on like this guy's a baller and it's like literally everything else that's fucked up. I don't think it would be wise to have him back as quarterback too. I think you at the very least need to have a veteran quarterback in here as your number 2 guy. And the plan is to just not see Zach at all. I don't want to see Zach take another snap like next year. I'll be honest. I kind of want him to be done. And I think he at this point probably wants to be done. I'm done on him.
I'm done with him. I just think at this point
I like him
time,
too. It's not I don't think it's a lack of trying. I don't think he's a bad person. Like even the bad press conference he gave at the end of last year with like do you think you let your defense down? I don't even really blame him for that. I think he was just trying to get out from behind the camera and like fucked up. I think he just said a bad thing.
The one thing that Zach has been actually doing this year very well, and I've actually watched the tape on him quite extensively, is he's recognizing defenses and IDing blitzes much better this year than he has in years past.
And he just doesn't throw with anticipation. He's waiting for guys to get open. He's waiting for him to get open, so you need receivers that get far more separation, and then he just tries to piss missile the fucking ball in, and then it's like going a zillion miles an hour, and no one can catch it. Like I think there's something to Garrett saying like, "Wow."
When I told you back when we drafted Garrett Wilson, okay, and everyone was on the JJ train at 4 or 10, and I said
I was very much on JJ.
Yeah. Garrett. I said Garrett Wilson is going to be an absolute superstar. I did, and the key components that Garrett has is he's got fantastic hands. He could win up in the air, and he's also got fantastic route running ability. And outside of Garrett Wilson on this team, who could win? Who could win in man coverage? Who? There's nobody that can win in man coverage.
Lazard is soft as baby shit. It sucks. Every time he goes up for a jump ball, he's not extending his arms. He's not fighting for it. He doesn't come back to the ball. Like I really don't like Lazard at all.
So again, I'm not trying to back Zach, but we have to be fair as Jets fans. We have to be fair assessing him. How he's trying to make necessary steps to become a better quarterback. When a quarterback doesn't have time, he has zero fucking time because the offensive line is a turnstile, especially on the right-hand side of the line. It's awful. It's awful. And now at the left with Becton being down, it's even worse now. But how can you blame a quarterback who has no time to throw the ball and his wide receivers don't get open outside of Garrett Wilson? There is no one that could win against man coverage. It is mind-boggling to me.
I feel like Gibson should be able to. I have not watched enough tape on Gibson, but I would like to believe his speed should be able to get himself open.
That's what I thought McCole Hardman was for. That's what I thought that whole signing was for.
But once Rodgers went down and they knew it wasn't a Super Bowl thing, it's like, hey, let's do right by the player. And I think that's something that Saleh and Douglas have done well, is let's do right by the player. They traded McClendon. They traded like all these different guys. I'm losing my mind on certain stuff, but there were a bunch of players that we moved off of. Le'Veon Bell, they released so he could go, to a winning organization. I think that does reach out to like other players, and players recognize that. You're not going to be, held captive. It's probably a pretty fun coaching staff to play for.
Absolutely. We need another guy who can get open against man coverage, who has route running ability. Garrett is the only guy, and every single time, it pains me, because every single time after a play happens, a sack, an incompletion, or whatever,
you see him throw his hands up.
It's like, no, it's always seemingly the fact that the camera is always pointing at Garrett Wilson after the play is done, and he's absolutely routing up every fucking corner he's going against. He's always getting open, which is such a sad part, because he is an exemplary talent, and he's always getting open, and it sucks. It sucks because he's winning every time. It's just ridiculous.
Oh, it's incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating, because I feel like he's open all the time, and all teams have to do is just double coverage him, and then we're screwed. Carson, thank you so much for the call.
Have a good one.
Been ejected. You're out of here from the cockpit. All right, Ryan King, I do see you sitting back there, but I'm at my 2-hour window, so I'm going to bounce at this particular point in time. Is there something you've been sitting back there, so I'll give you the... All right, let me bring you in. I'll bring you in. Let's see. Boom.
One last thing.
All right.
So I think that Saleh was an absolute genius, because he is the one that has like the final say on what gets put on Hard Knocks or not.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's mentioned this before. But do you remember the clip with Robert Saleh talking to Woody Johnson on the sidelines? And he was talking about how great Quinnen was, and Woody Johnson said that's a lot of money, and Saleh was like, "Well, we wouldn't have vouched for him if he wasn't worth it." How much of this quarterback thing is actually Woody Johnson not wanting to spend money or spend a pick, and say, "Hey, you got your team, now ride with it"? How much of this is actually him handcuffing Joe Douglas?
I do
and
think
Robert
that's
Saleh.
true. I do think that's true, 100%. But when you say that's a lot of money, are you assuming it's a lot of money for Rodgers, and now or maybe it's just the Quinn thing? There was a report from Josina Anderson that the Jets spent the second most money in cash spent this year. I think it was $285 million. I think the Browns were number one. But the salary cap, so real quick for the people that are in the chat, salary cap is what the allocation of your contract is each year. The cash spent is what's actually spent. So Quinnen Williams, I don't know what the contract was off the top of my head. Let's say he got a $50 million signing bonus. So
I think it was $96 million.
So $96 million. Let's say he got a $50 million signing bonus, just for easy math, and it's a 5-year deal. It would be a $10 million allocation per year. So $10 million will be attributed to each year of the contract, and it'll be spread out over 5 years. But that cash was paid out in a lump sum all at once. So that means Woody Johnson paid $50 million this year for Quinnen Williams, even though his cap hit's only going to be $12 million. And then Aaron Rodgers had his $50 million option exercised. So that's another $100 million. So you add all that up, and when the salary cap, which is what you are really bringing in to spend on the team for players, is only, I think it's 240 million maybe. It's less. It's a lot less than what we spent in cash. Now, realistically, it should be something similar year in and year out. And there were reports saying that Woody said this was the financial economic situation. Like, we've kind of made our bed. We're not going out. We're not spending more assets. We're not spending more money on quarterbacks. And my issue was, you're trying to get season ticket holders to pay for their 2024 season tickets already in November, but you're not willing to go out and make a trade for Kirk Cousins that would have been $5 million this year against the salary cap, which is really not that much, all things considered. But I think you are onto something. I think it is possible that Douglas and Saleh were handcuffed, and Simeon was just kind of like the thing they could bring in. It sucks because like Dobbs was out there, and maybe he could have been an option, but I don't know. I think you are right to some extent, but I still have to hold Douglas accountable for not having the backup prior to that. Ryan King.
No, I.
Boom! You've been ejected. That was a good thought, though. It was a good thought. That was solid. This was a good call-in show. It's a good therapy session for you guys out there and for me. All right, boys and girls, if you haven't done so already and you want to help support the channel, one easy way to do that is hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. The other way you could do that is going over to Underdog Fantasy and supporting the sponsors of the show. So hopefully they continue to sponsor in the future. Make myself a little extra cheddar on the side. I don't get anything if you guys sign up, but if you do sign up and use Jets Talk or Jets 24/7, Jets Talk 24/7, I found out there's actually 2 codes for me. You receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. And who knows, maybe they keep this thing going. Keep the lights on around here, even though my other light, which I'm just realizing now, is off, my little pilot thing. But I will get that fixed. All right, boys and girls, I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow with O'Leary and Green Bean for the Talking Jets stream over on the Talking Jets channel. And I'm sure I'll talk to you guys throughout the week. If I don't talk to you, you guys have a happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. And get wherever you're going nice and safe. This is Jets Talk signing off. Jets.